Los Angeles is a loud city, but some of its most important stories were built in silence. Not on sound stages, not under neon, not inside boardrooms overlooking Sunset Boulevard. They were built in factories that didn't advertise what they were making. Buildings that looked like ordinary industrial plants, where workers showed up each morning to do jobs they couldn't fully talk about. One of those companies sat in LA for nearly a century, and unless you worked there, you probably never knew its name. It was called Gilfillan. The story begins in the early 1900s, when two brothers, the Gilfillans, started a small electronics business in Los Angeles. At first, they weren't dreaming about classified military contracts or Cold War radar systems. They were building radio parts, coils, transformers, tuning components, and some of the earliest commercially assembled radios on the West Coast. At a time when most electronics manufacturing was happening on the East Coast, the Gilfillans proved Los Angeles could be more than a movie town. Los Angeles was growing, and so was the demand for wireless communication. Radios were becoming a household item, and the Gilfillan brothers became known for building sets that were reliable, affordable, and well-engineered. By the 1920s and 1930s, Gilfillan had become a respected name in the region's consumer electronics market. California's population was exploding. Homes were being wired for electricity, and radios were no longer luxuries. They were fixtures in living rooms. But something else was happening at the same time. The radio technology that entertained families was slowly being adapted for something far more serious: early detection, navigation, and surveillance. And when the world began moving toward global conflict, that shift became urgent. By the late 1930s, the U.S. military was looking for companies capable of manufacturing complex electronic systems in large quantities. Radar science was advancing quickly, but radar production required factories that already understood precision electronics. On the West Coast, few companies were better positioned than Gilfillan. They had the facilities, the workforce, the engineering foundation, and the ability to scale. So when the United States entered World War II, Gilfillan transformed almost overnight into a major defense contractor. The company stopped being just a radio manufacturer and became part of America's rapidly expanding radar infrastructure. Engineers and technicians worked in large windowless rooms, assembling components by hand: waveguides, oscillators, receivers, transmitters, and the delicate circuits that made radar possible. Workers were told only what they needed to know. Some thought they were building advanced communications equipment. Others understood it was navigation-related. Very few knew the full scope of what the machines would do once they left the factory. During the war, Los Angeles became one of the most important defense manufacturing cities in the world. Planes rolled out of Long Beach, engines were built in Glendale, secret research was done in Culver City, and radar equipment, the kind that let pilots fly at night, navigate through storms, and detect enemy aircraft, was assembled inside anonymous industrial buildings with the Gilfillan name stamped on the crates. Gilfillan's work was part of a nationwide network of radar development, which included the MIT Radiation Laboratory, East Coast electronics giants, university physics departments, and numerous subcontractors. No single company built radar alone. It was too complex, too new, too essential. Instead, the United States spread the work across an entire ecosystem of manufacturers. Gilfillan became one of the West Coast pillars of that system, producing specialized components and complete radar units used by U.S. forces across the Pacific and beyond. Their equipment wasn't associated with one famous battle or one specific model, and that's because radar was everywhere during World War II, on ships, on aircraft, on forward bases, on coastal defense installations. It was the invisible backbone of Allied detection and navigation. When the war ended in 1945, many defense contractors scaled down. Some closed entirely. But Gilfillan did something different. They stayed in the radar business. The world was shifting into the Cold War, and suddenly the United States needed radar more than ever. Radar to track aircraft along the coasts, radar to guide commercial flights that were multiplying every year, radar that could help pilots land in poor weather, long before modern avionics existed. This was when one of Gilfillan's most important contributions emerged. ground-based approach, and air traffic control radar. These systems allowed air traffic controllers to talk pilots down during bad weather, using radar returns to give step-by-step instructions. While not tied to a single event, these technologies were part of the same class of equipment that later became essential in operations like the Berlin airlift, where continuous landings under low visibility made precision guidance absolutely necessary. Gilfillan didn't build the original GCA sets used during the airlift, but they became a key manufacturer of similar radar systems in the years that followed, helping expand the technology and eventually supplying equipment for airports around the world. By the 1950s and 1960s, Gilfillan had been absorbed into ITT, becoming ITT Gilfillan, and began producing some of the most widely used air traffic control radar systems in the United States. These weren't consumer products, and they weren't glamorous. You couldn't buy one, and you couldn't see one unless you visited an airport operations center. But if you've ever flown into Los Angeles or San Francisco or dozens of other airports, chances are you've been guided at some point by a radar system descended from technology made at the Gilfillan plant. Meanwhile, Los Angeles grew around the company. Freeways cut through the neighborhoods. Aerospace giants built sprawling campuses. Hollywood created worlds on film sets, while real technology was being assembled in factories only a few miles away. Gilfillan existed in that hidden layer of LA, the one where secrecy was normal, engineering manuals were thicker than movie scripts, and the workday didn't end when the cameras stopped rolling. Even inside the company, most employees didn't know exactly where their equipment was going or what missions it would support. Some of it guided military aircraft. Some helped defend American bases overseas. Some kept commercial aviation safe during the most rapid expansion of air travel in history. By the 1970s, Gilfillan radar systems were recognized internationally for reliability and precision, and the Los Angeles plant became a major export hub for air navigation technology. Decade after decade, the company stayed rooted in LA. Buildings were modernized, production methods updated, new military contracts signed, old systems replaced by digital ones. Through it all, the Gilfillan brand remained tied to one idea: radar that worked when it mattered. What makes the Gilfillan story so fascinating is how quietly it unfolded. There were no scandals splashed across newspapers, no dramatic public failures, no celebrity endorsements, just steady, methodical, technical work done by engineers, machinists, and technicians who understood the seriousness of what they were building. This wasn't Hollywood glamour, it was industrial discipline, and the products were pieces of equipment that helped pilots land in storms, helped the military track aircraft across continents, and helped airports manage skies that were getting busier every year. Today, most Angelenos drive past old industrial zones without thinking about what those buildings once meant. Many of the factories that shaped the 20th century have been turned into office spaces, lofts, or warehouses. Some are gone entirely, but the impact of companies like Gilfillan still lingers in the aviation systems that keep planes moving safely, in the radar installations that protect coastal regions, and in the quiet heritage of Los Angeles as a hidden technology powerhouse. LA is known for its stories, scandals, crimes, stars, disasters, but some of its most important stories never made the front page. Some sat behind locked gates, built by people who knew they were shaping something bigger than themselves. The Gilfillan Corporation was one of those stories, a reminder that Los Angeles isn't just a city of bright lights and loud headlines. It's also a city where world-changing work happened in the background, in the shadows, and in the hum of machines that guided pilots through darkness and brought them safely home.